Welcome everybody to Extreme Power No Handling Autocross, and today we're dealing with the 1957 BMW Isetta 300 Export. Now this has a 292 horsepower, 171 pounds-feet of torque from a 1.3 litre turbocharged inline 4 engine, and the car itself weighs 1,154 pounds, and it can do 0 to 60 in 4.883 seconds, 0 to 109.117 seconds, going on to a top speed of 125 miles an hour. So yeah, besides the engine, all I've changed is the gearbox. I've changed it to a street transmission purely because the original gearbox only let this car go up to about 89 miles an hour. And yeah, we've had plenty of cars go faster than that. Whether or not this car will actually go faster than that is to be seen, but just to give it that little bit of extra leeway, I've changed the gearbox. But apart from that, everything else is stock. Suspension, tyres, brakes. So yeah. Not sure how this is going to do. We've had other oddities on this series, like the Reliant Supervan and the Morgan Freewheeler, with the Reliant Supervan being last place and the Morgan Freewheeler being a few places ahead, but it's still not one of the best times that we've had. So yeah, I'm expecting this to either be worse than the Reliant Supervan or in between that and the Morgan Freewheeler, quite frankly. It's not really going to be all that quick, despite weighing less than both. I think it's lighter than the Reliant Supervan, certainly lighter than the Morgan Freewheeler, and having as much power as that Reliant, and even as much as the Morgan Freewheeler, I think. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it can do. So let's see what it can do. Now obviously this does actually have four wheels, unlike the Reliant Supervan, but the two wheels at the back are incredibly close together, and if you know, too rough with the steering, you can actually roll it over, because even though it does have that extra wheel, because they are so close together, it may as well be one singular wheel, because they're not wide tyres either. So yeah, the amount of stability they offer is very limited, but we aren't dealing with anything too arduous in terms of the off-road elements, because on the Extreme Off-Road Silly series, this car was, yeah, really rather accident prone in terms of rolling over. Now if it can at least keep it on its wheels, then it'll be doing better than Reliant Supervan, which I think rolled over a few times, which is one reason why that car was so slow. This, on the other hand, seems to be suffering severely from spinning out, which I guess is no surprise. Short wheelbase, really rather lightweight, and you're asking it to go way faster than it ever went originally. I think its top speed was about 50 miles an hour, if that. And as you can see, we're going well above that. Well, at least we made it past what the speed would have been with the original gearbox. And we've actually beaten the Reliant Supervan on the first lap, despite, you know, spinning out several times. It's only by about half a second, but it's beating it nonetheless. So yeah, this isn't going to be the worst car that we've had, but neither is it going to be the best. But if we can at least keep it from spinning out, then we'll at least improve upon that previous time. So just be careful with the throttle and the steering. Don't be too jarring with it, and it'll be alright. Oh dear. Well, that's only the one spin out this time rather than the multiple ones beforehand, so it'll be quite a bit quicker. Oh dear, no brakes. Yeah, that's a big problem with this car, because obviously it was only ever meant to go a certain rate of speed. The brakes are only ever really capable of, you know, stopping it from that, with a little bit of a leeway probably, but certainly not from going more than 100 miles an hour. I do like the fact that this car is on the game though, don't get me wrong. Because, yeah, it is pretty much useless, but it's hilarious to have. It's funny to drive, it's a challenge to drive as well. Because of the weird handling characteristics it's got when you do put far more power and acceleration in it than it had originally. No other car handles like this. I mean, the Morgan Freewheeler and Reliant Supervan are a bit odd in terms of their handling, but Morgan Freewheeler is at least capable of going around a corner. And even though the Reliant Supervan does roll over, that's purely just because it's got one wheel at the front instead of one wheel at the back. In terms of actual handling and, you know, capability in terms of speed, it's actually alright, but its fundamental flaw is having the wheel at the front rather than the back. Whereas this, even though it does technically have four wheels, because the suspension is so incapable of handling this kind of speed, acceleration and power, it's, yeah, lifting up the front, the rear is all over the place. So yeah, all three of the odd vehicles, the vehicles that, yeah, you really aren't going to ever be able to properly race, are all different in terms of characteristics, despite being somewhat similar. Oh dear. Well, because of brakes being absolutely monumental in their poorness, we're going to have to leave it there because we've dirtied the lap up and it won't register. So yeah, but that's still a solid time, 1 minute 14.697, and I say solid time in relation to other cars like this, i.e. the Reliant Supervan, because it has absolutely trashed that. It's nearly 13 seconds ahead of it, but it is still, you know, second from the bottom, because it's not been able to beat the Holden FX Ute, or the Ford Super Deluxe Station Wagon, or the Mercury Coupe, or the Abarth 595, which, apart from the Reliant Supervan, are the only other cars to have a time of 1 minute 10 or more. And obviously, consequently, it's more than 5 seconds slower than the Morgan Freewheeler. But yeah, considering everything this car's got going against it, poor brakes, poor suspension, poor handling, really lack of stability, and all of that lot, it's done pretty well. And I think the reason why it's so much faster than the Reliant Supervan is just because this doesn't roll over. Yes, it can spin out, etc., but when it comes to actually going around a corner, you can actually hold a very decent kind of speed, even though you are raising the front up, etc. And acceleration wise, it's pretty good as well. As you can see, it was getting up to well over 100 miles an hour, even though that did offer some, you know, braking issues at the other end, but nonetheless semi-decent, I guess, especially when you look at it against the Reliant Supervan. But compared to everything else, pretty poor. So yeah, but no surprise really. Quite frankly, I'd have been impressed if it had beaten another car outside of the Reliant Supervan, quite frankly, but to be fair, it didn't come all that far off. It was only 2 points something of a second off the FX Ute, so not all bad. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.